What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and today I'm going to be ranking and reviewing Jefferson Airplane's studio albums according to how I like them. My favorite ranking. Not touching Jefferson Starship. I do actually have all of their, I have everything, I have all their LPs up to the one that We Built This City. Never got that one. I do have the stuff before that, and I do think there's some good songs in there. I'm still a Stranger Find Your Way Back fan. Even Jane, and there's some other deep cuts, but we're not going anywhere near Jefferson Starship today. I don't even want to have to think about those 80s albums and beyond. But Jefferson Airplane, how did we get here from Frank Zappa? Frank Zappa and Grace Slick wrote a song together, Would You Like a Snack? That eventually did not get released until, I think, the late 80s, early 90s in like a Jefferson Airplane box set. I think it's now on the Crown of Creation or After Bathing at Baxter's. It's a bonus track on one of the more recent CD releases of that. And then Flo and Eddie, they did backing vocals on an album I'm going to talk about first on here. So yeah, personally, I think Jefferson Airplane are the definitive San Francisco psych sound. To me, when I think of like psych rock, everything is some offshoot of what Jefferson Airplane did. I think that sound to me is my favorite psych rock sound, with Yorma's guitar and Grace's vocals and Marty's vocals and kind of everybody kind of singing whenever they want to sing. Just these weird like group chaos harmonies and songs that almost always end like a lot of really good songs that start off all folky, but then we sure enough have to finish with some like awesome Yorma guitar playing. Yorma's guitar sound to me is definitive psych. One of my favorite festivals, yearly festival, is the Austin Psych Fest, just north of here in Austin, Texas. The format's a little bit different now. COVID, they changed things up and they haven't gone back to the way it was like, I hate to say back in the day, but like 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I think, as recent as that, when they had more stages and like in one place or within walking distance, and it was like literally one place instead of you buy tickets for different club shows. And it seemed like there'd be a band at 12, 12:30. Like, you know, you had a band all the time. And there were so many bands that like I had never heard of, local bands or Texas bands or just bands that, you know, like off the like not successful psych bands from other countries, but because they were psych, like the Austin Psych Fest brought them to Texas. One of the best curated festivals ever. But I would say, like, anytime I went up to a band I had never heard of, chances are, I would say 80% of the time, they either had a Jefferson Airplane folk vibe or a Jefferson Airplane jam vibe or a Jefferson Airplane garage rock vibe. There was some like Jefferson Airplane DNA in their music. And I just think, I honestly don't know what the world thinks of Jefferson Airplane. You know, you're always, I think, going to hear maybe Somebody to Love or White Rabbit in movies forever, as long as the movies are about the 60s. I think they'll always probably be represented. But yeah, I'm not sure what they're thought of in like the grand pantheon of great rock groups, though I do think when it comes to psych music, they need to be one of the top people still to this day. Their albums are sound dated. Their albums sound like 60 psych albums, which is why I love them. They sound very much of that era. The lyrics are political, if not rude and defiant. The production is very psych noisy and attacking and angular, and it's just some beautiful stuff. So anyways, yeah. So there's 8 albums. I'm going to go through them 8 through 1, and then I'll put the list up on the screen, and then you share your thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, anyways, here we go on to number 8. Number 8 is their 1989 reunion album, Jefferson Airplane. It sounds like it was made in the 80s. The drumming, immediately, I'm like, oh no, nope. Doesn't sound psych at all. There are moments. Grace Slick has a song about a panda, about pandas. Yeah, good. We're fighting for good causes. I think the lyrics would make a good children's book, especially if you got a good illustrator. If anybody's watching this and wants to illustrate this, let's get the rights to this and make it happen. But yeah, it's just bad. It's like, I don't even think, it's definitely not a good Jefferson Airplane album. I don't think it's a good 80s rock album. Maybe if you really like 80s average generic rock, you might like this album, but I just don't think it has anything good to offer. There is one good song. There's an acoustic Yorma song called Upfront Blues, which kind of works for me. I kind of like, but everything else on this, it's bad. It's just bad. I remember when this came out, I would still read Rolling Stone all the time. We didn't have the internet, and I remember the review for this, still to this day, because that review turned me off to a lot of legacy acts, which I guess this is what this is, right? A legacy act getting back together after a decade and a half to make an album and cash in, maybe. And yeah, because there's no inspiration here. It's a cash in. But Rolling Stone said something along the effect of like, this is when you're watching like your favorite baseball player or your favorite basketball player, and they're only in the league because they've already been in the league, and you're like embarrassed for them. And every once in a while, maybe they make a shot, but it's just it's painful. I think we're at a place where people get older better. Science is to the point, but science wasn't to the point here. The Rolling Stones were more successful coming back in this era or never finishing than this. This is bad. I've spent way too much time talking about this. I apologize. My number 8, Jefferson Airplane, 1989. Number 7 is their 7th, Long John Silver. This came out in 1972. The next album after this would be the one I just talked about. I don't get. There's a lot of people who really, really, really think this is a bad album. I don't think this is that bad of an album. I think the energy is good. Apparently they weren't getting along. They broke up after this. I don't think the recording of it was all that fantastic. I know we have Papa John Creech is now on violin. I think he joined on the last album. Covington's on drums. Everybody else is here. No Marty. Marty's gone. But it's got a lot of really good energy. Like, I think it sounds like they're bringing the right energy, and there's the right like attack, and it just like, it's not like this just maudlin, we're struggling to get these through type songs without sort of any inspiration. Like, there's something going on here. It's just, I don't think any of the songs are all that memorable or really all that good. It's just like, oh, good, Yorma's going to play. Oh, good, there's some good vocal energy. This one's a little bit dark. There's a couple oddly dark songs on here that are kind of interesting. So it has its moments. I just think the overall effect of it is like they're really just churning their wheels and just like they know what they can do. And there's just, the songs just aren't bringing anything really special. What do we got on this? Yeah, the first half is pretty much just kind of, again, just kind of these average kind of rock songs. Energy is good. Guitar is always good. Yorma's always bringing it. Milk Train is when it starts to get a little bit interesting. There's some really good sort of psych rock, high energy stuff, violin solo. We get 2 kind of really weird songs in the middle of the album, the closer of set 1 and the opener of set 2, The Son of Jesus, and then Easter with a question mark. One's a Cantner song, one's a Slick song. They're both just weird psych energy it kind of works and it kind of doesn't. Easter is really kind of slow, that has this awesome sort of winding guitar that just kind of goes right through it. I don't know if they're great songs, but they're not bad, and they're kind of intriguing. Yeah, Trial by Fire has some nice acoustic energy that goes into some really good heavier guitar energy. And then the closing, Eat Starch Mom, there's just some anger in here for some reason. Like, it's like whatever the politics are, they're angry politics. It's got a heavy riff. Slick is just going off vocally. It's kind of got a raw, ragged, jammy kind of feel. Yeah, it ends kind of strong. In fact, I think like the middle of the album, that Son of Jesus, Easter, kind of weird little songs, and Eat Starch Mom is angry in a weird way. It's got a nice riff. It's got its moments. I think it's got its moments. I know there's a lot of people who just absolutely don't like this album, but it's number 7. I mean, there's 6 better albums, but I don't think it's that bad. I think there are some redeeming moments on this. But that's my number 7, Long John Silver, which is a horrible title for an album. Yeah. Number 6 is Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. This is the album without Grace Slick, which is not a problem in the fact that the vocalist on here, Signe, C-S-I-G-N-E, Anderson, can sing. The song she does, Chauffeur Blues, is probably one of the highlights on this album. She can definitely sing, bringing some 60s blues energy. Not bringing the vibrato like Grace does, but she can sing. But the problem with that is she's only on that that one song is the solo lead vocalist. And then we get a lot of Marty, which is fine. But I think part of the attraction of Jefferson Airplane is sort of the chaotic nature of who's going to sing this song and who's going to sing what part of this song. And is everybody going to sing this song? Like, yeah, this is a lot of just Marty, a lot of just psych pop. You know, we're definitely, Yorma is there. There's not enough Yorma, but when he's there, it's tasty and it kind of hints at what's going to happen in albums to come. Some pretty good songs on here, some pretty good covers. A cover of Tobacco Road, which is not bad. Oh, there is a cover of the Youngbloods' Let's Get Together. Come on, people now, cry on each other. Not as good as the Youngbloods version. Definitely makes you appreciate that version more. But there's just some really good sort of like psych pop on here with some little heavier energy every so often. Marty does sound good. I don't know if it's Balin or Balin. I think it's Marty Balin, right? Don't want to mispronounce his name over and over again. But it is, a lot of it has sort of a Mama and Papa's type folk vibe. And Mamas and Papas can get weird and slightly psyche on their deep cuts. That's kind of where we're at. But it definitely has more of a, you know, brighter, all that kind of vibe. Yeah. So yeah, number 6, harmless little 60s psych poppy Mamas and Papas-ish feel good album with slight hints of the darkness that would come. Not immediately on the next album, but later. All right, number 6, their debut, Jefferson Airplane takes off. Number 5 is Bark, their 6th album. This came out in 1971. You saw the cover, that horrible cover. Not a good title name either. This is a weird album. There's kind of some weird stuff on here. Kind of reminds me of Long John Silver's, and there's a lot of things that are like, do we have an anthemic Raise Your Fist anthem? Yeah, we do. When the Earth Moves Again, we open up with that. Do we have some nice finger picking by Yorma that drops in there? Yeah, we do. When is that? One of these songs. Yeah, Third Week in the Chelsea. Do we have some weird What is Jefferson Airplane Doing Now type songs? Yeah. Never Argue with a German If You're Tired or European song. And Thunk, which I'm not even sure if Thunk is like serious, if it's satire. I'm not sure what's going on with Thunk. Thunk is just a weird song. We get Crazy Miranda, in which Grace is getting all political and calling people out for being brain dead, and like could be a relevant song now. Maybe they should reform and do Crazy Miranda, see if they can get that as a signal here in the States. We need this energy. We got a nice long jam that features Papa John Creech on violin. This is his first album that he's here. This is Marty's first album he's not here, plus Covington's now on drums. It's Wild Turkey, nice instrumental jam that kind of works well. And the closing war movie, which is just this awesome sort of little mini epic thing that has this very like militaristic marching going forward type vibe with some really good guitar jam energy in it. It's a weird all over the map type of album. And listening to like this album, Long John Silver to a lesser degree, but then the album that came before this, which I've yet to talk about, to me are very early 70s type albums. I think that's one thing I miss a lot about music today, is you have these albums which would have, you'd have a couple rockers, then you'd have some acoustic ballads, then you'd have an instrumental jam with the violin, then you'd have this weird corny dance hall number, and then you'd indulge in the country. Like the Stones did that well. Beggar's Banquet. Like, you got all kinds of crazy things, but it all sounds like the Stones. And I think one of the things about Jefferson Airplane is they're doing all these weird things, and everybody's got different ideas about what they want to write about or do, but they're all committed to being Jefferson Airplane, and I think it works. I think it works. But anyways, yeah, it's a weird album at times. It doesn't always work, but this is 71. They're coming out of the 60s. Kind of pays to be weird. Let's try new things. Sucks that it didn't pay off. But it's an interesting listen. But a notch below the next 4. The next 4 are like, I think, the essential Jefferson Airplane albums. But number 5, Bark. Number 4 is their 4th, Crown of Creation. This came out in 1968. 4 and 3 are pretty close to me. They're pretty neck to neck. I think this one drops to 4 because I'm ranking the albums and not the collection of songs. And this album starts off with not one of my favorite tracks, or at least not as an opening track, this song called Leather or Lather, Lather, which is this weird sort of effects laden kind of psyche weird folk tale. And it doesn't quite start off with the same bombast that other Jefferson Airplane albums start off with, and I like that. Let's just hit me from the beginning. Anthemic. Let's raise our fist from the beginning. And then the following song, In Time, is also this kind of woozy psych ballad that definitely gets bigger as the song goes on, but I don't think the beginning, like I almost think if In Time had been the opener and you just kind of go on and then you build to this sort of heavier psych energy, I think it's a better opening. But having Lather as the opener is not my favorite thing. We have a cover of David Crosby's Triad on here, which is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful song. Grace Slick does a phenomenal part on this. We get a couple really nice little rockers like Psych Rock Energy and Star Trek and Share a Little Joke. We get this weird little instrumental thing called Shushingura, just kind of a keyboard percussion. Almost sounds like it could have been thrown in on like an Uncle Meat or something. It's very of the 60s and very sounds like what other artists were throwing in on their albums. We get If You Feel. It's kind of a fun, upbeat, carefree, jammy little number. Crown and Creation, the sort of kind of the anthemic song of this album. Ice Cream Phoenix, which is a nice psych rock song. Greasy Heart, which I absolutely love. Just this Grace Slick rocker. Just awesome, like Grace Slick swag on this. And then the awesome The House at Punio Corners to close out, which is just awesome lyrics, dark topics, great psych jam. You're fighting for hope here. This is dark nightmare psych music. This is what Jefferson Airplane does better than anybody in the 60s. Is this just kind of like, this album ends on a strong note. Absolutely great psych attack to close out this album. It's good. Great album. Absolutely love it. I just think the sequencing is off. And if it had been sequenced better, I think there's a better album here. It's why it's at 4 and not at 3. Because I do think possibly the best song out of both, Triad's on. It is a really good album, man, but it's at 4 right now. And for the reasons I said, I'm sticking with it. Number 4, Crown of Creation. Number 3 is After Bathing at Baxter's, their third album. This came out in 67. And yeah, I just think it starts off stronger than the one I just talked about, but they're both really, really classic albums that have a little bit of everything that Jefferson Airplane does so well. Starts off with The Ballad of You and Me and Punil, just this like heavy psych rocker, just full on attack from the beginning, just throwing us like knee deep into San Francisco psych from the beginning. Has an experimental jammy psych edge to it that's fantastic. We get a small package of Value Will Come to You Shortly, another Spencer Dryden percussion weird mother, Frank Zappa mother-esque little ditty that segues really nicely into sort of the young girl Sunday blues pop energy, kind of a psych pop number that pairs really well with the sort of percussive experimental weirdness of a small package. We get Martha, some nice acoustic folk psych, sort of a CSNY type vibe. And then we get Wild Time, which is just some a hippie sing-along type thing with some great guitars, like that Jefferson Airplane, like, hey, everybody, we're in this together type vibe. The closing song on here, Won't You Try Saturday Afternoon, also leans into that just Jefferson Airplane doing what we do, rock, sing-along, hippie vibe that I love so well. The Last Wall of the Castle, we got some good psych rock. Rejoice, which is this Grace Slick, just absolutely fantastic songs. This very almost seance-y, ritualistic vibe. Like we're talking about something that already exists that maybe has mysteries we don't understand. This song has that sort of mini epic vibe of things that I think Grace Slick on the next album I'm going to talk about has just such a awesomely song that evokes these weird type of like musical energies that seem like they're tapping into something that's deeper and more essential than rock music. Watch or Ride, which is I love, just a straight up stomp and riff, classic 60s rock. We get the long, jammy spare change, which it's like, how long? 9 minutes long. It's just like kind of a guitar solo, but it's more like, it almost reminds me of like a Frank Zappa piece. Like it could have fit really well on like Shut Up and Play Your Guitar Some More, or Return to the Sun, or Shut Up and Play Your Guitar, like one of those like 9 minute, half of a side type guitar tracks. It just has that self-contained essence, some slowly building momentum. Like I'm all for indulgent guitar psych explorations, and Spare Change delivers that perfectly. We get Two Heads, which is the weirdness of the album. We're getting our dose of Jefferson Airplane weirdness. Then it closes out with Won't You Try Saturday Afternoon. Really good 60s psych pop, folk pop. They're doing what they do. Jefferson Airplane, fantastic. Yeah, that's my number 3, After Bathing at Baxter's. My number 2 is Volunteers, their fifth studio album. This came out in 1969, November, the end of 69. We're almost to the 70s. This kind of reminds me of Velvet Underground's Loaded. And like the band was like, we can make a more polished album and like have things that are readily identifiable as songs and like don't bleed into each other. And we're still going to throw a little bit of weirdness on it, right? But we can do something a little more predictable. And I feel like this is like their little more predictable album. Safer is a weird word to use, but it's fantastic. And to me, this is a perfect example of like a late 60s, early 70s album where you have so many crazy things going on and they're just fantastic. It also has one of the greatest songs ever, one of the greatest psych songs ever, one of the greatest songs ever is on this album. So that helps bring it to number 2. The opening and closing tracks, We Can Be Together and Volunteers, both have a very Jefferson Airplane anthemic, everybody sing along and fight the power type vibe. The lyrics to We Can Be Together are awesome. Like this is a Cantner is Angry song, and they are going to let everybody know how angry they are. It's like just some of the greatest songs. All your private property is target for your enemy. We must begin here and now. Tear down the walls, up against the wall, calling out people's names. In order to survive, we steal, cheat, lie, forge, fight, hide, and deal. Yeah, I mean, it's an angry song, but we can be together and fight all of these horrible things. Just so much awesome energy. That goes into a traditional cover arranged by Jorma of Good Shepherd, which is some great, this is what they do. You start off in this great 60s psych folk realm, and before the song ends, Jorma's just dropping an awesome psych guitar solo in there. We get The Farm, which I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it's like this almost like too much country vibe with pedal steel guitar action in there. Was Jerry on this? I know Jerry is supposedly sat in on a number of their albums. Yeah, Jerry dropping some pedal steel on The Farm. And it just sounds out of place. It's like, it's just not working. Then they all come in singing. And like, they all come in singing. And the song feels like, oh, this is a bunch of city dwellers who've like woken up their third eye and now they're moving to the country only to like inevitably destroy it and things go sour and they flee back to the city, as many, many great books have been written about that experience. This musically holds up to that story. Oh, we're like, oh, we're going here, this country vibe. And then they all start singing about moving to the country. Like, oh yeah, you guys don't belong here. This is not you. This is a perfect juxtaposition of music and lyrics that create a thing where like, yeah, stay in the city where you belong. It's the city, San Francisco, stay there. It works. Then we get the 9 minutes of Hey Frederick, which is just an awesome, really long, indulgent, psych, jam, blues, workout, awesome, slick lyrics. Yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. Epic. The band takes off. This is the sound of Jefferson Airplane taking off. Love this song. Yeah, 8.5 minutes. I could take many, many more. I think there's a quad mix apparently, which has more minutes on it. Side 2, we open up with Turn My Life Down, a nice little like folk psych pop song that goes into jammy psych at the end. Then we get one of the greatest songs ever written, Wooden Ships. Crosby wrote it, Stills wrote it, Cantner wrote it. Just absolutely perfect. The lyrics so dark, so like post-nuclear war, and the men in like radiation suits are coming to maybe save you, and you're encountering somebody you haven't met and eat these purple berries. They haven't killed me, so apparently they're not contaminated. Dark lyrics. But what a fantastic song. Like Jefferson Airplane tapped into like the morning dew existential, nuclear crisis, post-Cuban missile despair of the late 60s. And this song, Crosby, Stills, Cantner, perfection. Then we get Slick, and Cantner wrote it, but it feels like a Slick song, Eskimo Blue Day, which is this environmental song that is one of my favorite lines in the history of rock. The human scream doesn't mean shit to a tree. Love it, love it, love it. This is one of the best hippie anthems ever. The music is kind of dark, kind of creepy, kind of mysterious, has that very loose, jammy, ritualistic feel. Yeah, Eskimo Blue Day. That is a hidden gem. We get a song for all seasons, like a Neil Young type country rocker. We get Meadowlands, which is like this funeral type, instrumental type thing. And then we close out with Volunteers. Yeah. Anthem. It kind of echoes the opening song of We Can Be Together. Just a great journey. A perfect, what is it? I don't even think it's 40 minutes long, right? Back when they made 45 minutes. Doesn't even feel like 40 minutes. Absolutely awesome little, they're excellent Jefferson Airplane album, which only leaves one more, which has what I would say the greatest psych rock song of all time. And number one is their second album, Surrealistic Pillow. This came out in 1967, February. Got in before the Summer of Love. Provided the soundtrack to the Summer of Love. We got White Rabbit on here, which I would argue is the greatest psych song ever written. Just that, the drums, the guitar. Everything about that song is perfect psych music. Perfect. We also have Somebody to Love. Just an absolute banger of a psych rock song. Grace Slick, bow down, Grace Slick. We also have Embryonic Journey, an awesome Yorma, Guitar Exploration. We got the opening She Has Funny Cars. Like every song on here is just this perfect little 1967 psychedelic music, either folk classic or folk into Yorma playing crazy electric guitar classic. It's just fantastic. Yorma's guitar, it could always be more indulgent. We're going to get that on later albums where he stretches out. It always feels like there's just not enough of it. But that's, I think, part of the charm of the album is like they were able to still get it in there in these awesome little songs. The opening, She Has Funny Cars, just awesome 60s psych rock. We get My Best Friend, which has some really good acoustic like pop psych. We get Today, which is this really nice long psych ballad. We get Coming Back to Me, which is this awesome, almost like Crosby, Stills, and Nash meets Joni type vibe, kind of sparse and slow, but effective. And that's the great thing about this. It's like, I think the big songs on here that everybody knows, like definitely kind of radiate out and help the other stuff maybe sound a little better. But the contrast of those songs are coming that are just immediately going to like lay waste to like everything. Like, I don't know, it gives the whole album this really, really satisfying journey where you're going through all these little different things. And even the songs that I think if maybe they were put on other albums might be lesser tracks, on this album you're like, oh, well, we need that because like we just had 3 like absolutely mind-blowing songs in a row. We need something to a little decompress a little bit. I don't know why I'm trying to define that. You got the chord progression, DCBA, and then 25. Apparently they were on something when they wrote it. Some nice smooth psych guitar playing there. You get How Do You Feel, which is this awesome light acoustic psych folk. You get the awesome Embryonic Journey. You get White Rabbit, which is just an absolute masterpiece. And then Marty closes out with Plastic. Fantastic. Love her. It's just it feels 60s, it feels psychedelic, it feels 25-ish, like people are taking stuff. It is like, it is an absolute, and there are so many bands, again, back when I would go to like the Austin Psych Fest, when they had like, it seemed like 3 times more bands than they're able to book now. It just seems like every other band, if not 2 out of every 3 bands, was dropping some version of every one of these songs at some point on a stage. Just weird folk stuff with some guy in the corner just shredding on guitar. Just amazing stuff. It is the soundtrack to an era, and it's just this perfect 1967, 66 full psych folk rock creation. Yeah, it's the template for so many other things. That's my number one, surrealistic pillow. That is what they look like in writing right there. Just to recap, I would say number 8 is horrible. 7, 6, and 5 have their moments. And then the top 4 are just absolutely fantastic. Just absolutely essential 60s San Francisco psych rock classics. Yeah, that's how I'd rank them right there. But yeah, all right. Let me know your thoughts on this band, on these albums, which ones I should reconsider, which one I should bow my head in shame that I like as much as I do. You know how comments work, people. But go listen to, like, if you want to know what I think is, if you want to hear the best San Francisco psych, 60s psych music, like, this is it, man. This is like the, what did they make in sourdough? They have like a starter in sourdough that lasts for like decades or something like that. This is like the starter kit for all really, really good psych music right here. You need this stuff, and then you do your own version of what psych is. But you need to know what that original cause is. The original sin is. This is the original sin of psych music right here, I would argue. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and go listen to Jefferson Airplane and expand your mind. Feed your head, people. Feed your head.